All right, welcome. Today, we're jumping headfirst into one of the most exciting and, yeah, most controversial topics out there, decentralized finance, or DeFi. It's this whole new world of code, crypto, and some pretty radical ideas that promise to flip everything we think we know about money on its head. So let's dive in. And that right there, that's really the core idea of DeFi. It's this vision of a financial system that's been totally rebuilt from scratch, without any of the usual gatekeepers. It's this idea of a system that's open for business to literally anyone, anywhere, 24/7. Okay, that sounds amazing, right? But is it maybe a little too good to be true? We're going to look at both sides of the coin here. The incredible promise of this technology, but also the very, very real dangers that come with playing on this brand new frontier. Okay, so before we can really wrap our heads around DeFi, we gotta start with what we already know. Let's talk about the system we all use every single day, centralized finance. I mean, just think about it. Every single time you swipe your card or send money to a friend or buy a stock, there's a company, a bank, an exchange, right there in the middle. They're the gatekeepers, the central hubs that control everything. And this is where you can really see the massive difference between the two. So on one hand, you've got centralized finance, or CeFi. It's all about control by a central authority, you need permission to play, and you can't really see what's going on behind the curtain. But then DeFi comes along and just flips that whole script. It's controlled by the users, it's open to everyone, and it's all out there on a public ledger for anyone to see. So in the CeFi world, the big institutions call the shots. They're the ones holding your money. They have to follow all these strict know your customer rules to stop illegal activity. And, if something goes sideways, there's actually a customer support number you can call. It's all built to feel stable and hopefully secure. Okay, so that's the old way. Now, let's look at the DeFi promise. It's a totally different beast, built not on trusted companies, but on pure code. The basic idea is pretty simple, actually. DeFi takes all those financial services and builds them on top of a blockchain. So instead of a bank keeping its records in a private little book, everything happens on a shared public record that, in theory, no one can mess with. And that's what makes it possible for people to deal directly with each other, with no middleman. So what's the magic that makes all this work? It's something called smart contracts. The easiest way to think about them is like a super smart vending machine. You put in your money, you make your selection, and the machine automatically gives you what you paid for. It's just code that runs itself when certain conditions are met. No human needed. It just works. Okay, so that's the how. But what can you actually do with this stuff? Let's get into some of the big things people are doing in DeFi today. First up is a big one, lending and borrowing. Forget the bank. Here, you can lend out your crypto and earn interest directly from other users. Or you can lock up some of your assets as collateral to borrow against them. It's basically a global 24/7 money market, all run by those smart contracts. All right, next up is trading. On what's called a decentralized exchange, or a DEX, you're not handing your money over to a company. You trade right from your own digital wallet. And a lot of them don't use those old school order books. They use this really cool invention called automated market makers. Basically, these are just big pools of tokens locked in a smart contract, so there's always liquidity ready for anyone who wants to make a trade. It's pretty genius. And of course, there's earning passive income. One way is through staking. That's where you lock up your crypto to help keep the network secure, and you get paid rewards for doing it. Now, some places like Coinbase will do this for you, but they'll take a big slice of the pie for themselves. We're talking like a 25% fee. Yield farming is like staking on steroids. It's way more complex, with people constantly moving their money around between different DeFi services, trying to chase the absolute highest returns. Okay, but here's where we have to get serious. All this freedom, it comes at a cost. This is the digital Wild West. There's no central authority, which means there's no sheriff. And you better believe, wherever there's money, there are gonna be outlaws. The risks here are absolutely massive. $620 million. That's how much was stolen in the single biggest crypto heist ever. It happened back in March 2022. A state-sponsored hacking crew hit the Ronin Bridge, which is tied to that popular game Axie Infinity, and just walked away with over $500 million. And believe me, that was not a one-off thing. This problem is blowing up. Just look at the numbers from the FBI. Reported losses from these kinds of scams skyrocketed almost 600% in a single year. We're talking from 246 million to more than 1.6 billion with a B. The threat is just relentless. The traditional finance world has built up these huge digital fortresses over decades. But a lot of DeFi is new, it's experimental, it's open source, and that basically paints a giant target on its back for hackers. And one of the nastiest and most common scams you'll see is something called a rug pull. It's a pretty simple playbook. Step 1. Some developers create a shiny new crypto token. Step 2. They hype it up like crazy on social media to get the price soaring. And then, Step 3. Once enough people have piled in, the creators just pull all the real money out of the project. The token's value instantly crashes to zero, and everyone else is left holding a bag of absolutely worthless digital junk. And this isn't just a bunch of random scammers in their basements anymore. This has become a genuine national security threat. We're seeing state-sponsored groups, like North Korea's infamous Lazarus Group, systematically targeting DeFi to steal massive amounts of money to fund their weapons programs. It's wild. So with all this chaos and all this risk, you knew it was only a matter of time, right? The regulators and the governments are starting to move in. The days of DeFi being this totally unregulated space are definitely coming to an end. And the message from regulators is crystal clear. We don't care what you call your project. If it looks like a bank and acts like a bank, then we're going to regulate it like a bank. You can't just slap the word decentralized on something and think it's a get-out-of-jail-free card. And this isn't just happening in one country. We're seeing a whole wave of regulation sweeping across the globe. You've got global groups setting new rules. Here in the US, projects have to register. And over in Europe, they've just launched this massive piece of legislation called MiCA to create one standard set of rules for the entire EU. The writing is on the wall. The Wild West era is drawing to a close. So what does this all mean? Where are we headed? Well, we're standing at this really fascinating crossroads. We're watching a battle for the very soul of finance play out in real time. And it really all boils down to this one question. Is the future of finance going to be a war between centralized control and decentralized code? Or can these two worlds actually find a way to work together? I mean, who knows? Only time will tell. So, feeling bullish on DeFi? Hit that like button and subscribe to join the decentralized revolution.